Hey guys, it's Adam with Water Rock Farming, and I'm showing you today an update on our Johnson Sioux compost bioreactor with a leachate system made out of a 250 or 275 gallon tote here. I wanted to show you guys really quick. It's been about a month and a half or so, and we've been cooking since then. It's been staying at a warm, good air level, but right now we are actually down now to about room temperature. So it's about time to add those worms in. So you can see our compost thermometer here showing now we're below. It shows like the red part here where it's hot, orange is active, and it was in the active stage for like most of the time for weeks on end, and then it finally went to warm for about like a week or so, and then now we're down here. And again, it's been only about maybe a month and a half now, maybe a little bit less or so. And so now that it's actually stabilized, the leachate that's coming out of the bottom here, we can actually start to collect. So this tote's a little old. You can see the plastic's a little like cracking and stuff like that. It's just slightly dripping, but it's still got plenty of leachate in there. And so we're just gonna go ahead and collect some of that and then start using it for our trees and our crops inside the greenhouse or the high tunnel rise system. And we're gonna show you guys how we use it. Basically, just explain really quick, there's two different ways to be able to use a leachate. The leachate is kind of like a hybrid between compost extract and compost tea. So depending on what you do when you take it, you can either take it and straight use it just as leachate as it is. And the way you could tell if it's anaerobic, if like bad and you don't want to use it, is using the simple sense of your nose. There's other ways of like, testing the ORP, which I would get a device and be able to do that in the future here. But I want to be able to kind of let you know the simplest ways to be able to do this. So you could go ahead and just take a smell of it. If it smells earthy or slightly sour, because of the pistache we add in there, it could have that slightly sour smell, and that's fine to use. Might have to dilute it down to like maybe like 1 in part to 1,000 or something like that, or 1 in 1,500 or 1 to 500 parts, and just make sure that you're being cautious. Always start low before you start high. So what I always do is before I use it, instead of just using it straight like that, I give it a brew. I brew it with air. I just like making a compost tea. The difference is I do a 2 to 4 hour brew if I want quick results, just enough to kind of shock the aerobics inside there, the aerobic microbes inside the compost tea, and then make it to where they become a little bit more active, and then they're more dominant than any sort of anaerobes that are in there. And then we could also brew it for like 24 to 36 hours or so, or maybe even up to 48, depending on what you're going for. The longer you usually do it, if you go up to that 48 period, you're going more fungal dominant. So, which is what I like using for trees. That's good stuff. But if you go a little bit less, then you're going a little bit more on the bacterial side. So as far as bacteria to fungi ratio, that's kind of how it works. But anything beyond that, it's not going to be productive enough. You're not going to want to use that. You're not going to want to do that. So this tea or this leachate makes for a good, compost extract or a compost tea. So just wanted to kind of share that a little bit with you, and then we'll go ahead and get into tapping into this. All right, guys. So now we are filling up the leachate here and getting as much as we possibly can of the leachate. So just filling it up and then shutting it off. The valve is pretty broken. It's pretty messed up, so that kind of sucks. But we fill it all the way up to that line. Now it's going to probably, once we start brewing it, it's probably going to start foaming over. Not much we could do about that, but the foam kind of shows that there's activity already going inside there. So you can add other things like molasses, or even what I like to do is a Quattro additive of humic acid. Even though the compost already has a lot of that humic acid, I like to add some in from that. And then humic acid, fulvic acid, that's good stuff. That's going to help make it chelator, so then the plants will be able to absorb it a lot better. And then we got also seaweed or kelp extract, and that is a microbial food right there. Like, it's a great source for even fungi and stuff to be able to grow faster. And also fish aminos. Fish aminos, even though this is going to have a lot of its own organic acids like amino acids, getting it from a fish is going to be a lot of a better source, just because, I mean, think about it. When the pilgrims came over here and they got taught by the Indians, they were using fish straight out of the ocean. They used a whole fish and put it into there to be able to grow their corn and stuff, because of those fish amino acids from that raw fish hydrolysate that kind of created off of that, it's going to be the same thing. So those are the 4 major things that I like to add in there. Oh, and then also the 5th, if you want to get some good sugars going, molasses, always a good thing. So you always want to add something like that there. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting this brewing, guys, and I'll catch you in a sec. All right, so it's brewing up pretty well. I just turned it on. We don't have to add any sort of additives to it. It seems to be foaming just fine. That's an indicator that microbes are active. So we're not going to really have to add anything to this at the moment, though I like to put in those 4 things that I mentioned to, or 5 things with the molasses, just to kind of like kick it up. But we can either brew this for about 2 to 4 hours. If you want to use it more like a compost extract, that's totally fine. 2 to 4 hour brew is going to be totally good for that. Or you could go ahead and brew it for, 18 to 24 to maybe even 36 hours. I wouldn't go any longer than 48. But if you go a little like on that 36 to 48, you're going more fungal dominant. So it is a kind of a good thing to do that. But that's more of treating it like a compost tea. So this is a hybrid between those 2 different things. So you can see how fast it's already foaming up. And by the end of it, it's going to be overflowing. And then we're just going to go ahead and start adding this to our trees and our crops inside our greenhouse and everything, whatever we're growing. All right, guys, it's the next day. It's in the morning. Yesterday was in the afternoon when I started this brew. But you can see it's still bubbling. There's kind of bigger bubbles here. I hope that's not like a sign of slime, but let me give it a smell. No, it smells fresh. It smells like a fresh, like forest rain kind of smell. So that's good, looking really good. Probably still gonna give a little bit more time. I might go ahead and throw in my Elemental Harmony blend, which is of those 4 things I mentioned yesterday, which is humic, fulvic, seaweed extract, and fish aminos. I might throw that in there though, and then later on feed this out to my trees. But we'll see. It really doesn't need it. It's boiling fine. You can tell it kind of overflowed a little bit on the edges there. So it has plenty of powerful microbes, I think, that I need already right now, and the phase of the compost is at right now. And then once it starts getting more better, then we'll go ahead and make another brew out of it and keep it going. All right, this is my what I call Elemental Harmony. It's that humic acid, fulvic acid, and then also with the seaweed extract powder and fish aminos. So I'm just going to take like a little bit, about like a 1 to 2 tablespoons full, and then sprinkle it in here. You can see it hits the bubbles down, and then it's going to start making even more bubbles once it's actually stirred up in there. So that's plenty right there. We probably have to even dilute this before we use it. So it's good stuff. Let's give it a little mix. And then the bubbles will do the rest once it mix up some of that on the top. Oh yeah, see, she's starting to foam up a little more now too. So it wasn't necessary to put it in, but I'm just gonna do that for the last couple hours before I use it. I'm gonna be planting some corn too, so I'm gonna be putting this on there too. It's good stuff. Yeah, see, it's kind of like foaming a lot now that I put that in there, so probably didn't need to, but those microbes are very active in there. All right, guys, it is day 2, so about close to 48, so anywhere from about 36 to 48 hours done. If I let it go until the afternoon, then it's going to be more on that closer to 48 hours, and that's the maximum amount of time that you want to be able to actually put for the compost tea. Well, the leachate that we're making into a compost tea, because we're aerating it and brewing it this way. That's a maximum amount of time that you really want to do it. You don't want to go any longer than that, just because it'll start going more anaerobic, and it's not really what you're looking for. But right now, it's at the more of the peak time where it's more fungal to bacteria rather than bacteria to fungal. We want the fungal stuff, so we could actually when we put it into the roots of the trees, use it as a soak there. We're gonna have a lot more fungal dominant. Anything fungal dominant is going to be way better for our climate in our area, because it's going to be what's going to help to fix our soil more better. So that's what we're going for. This is what she looks like. I'm just using little aerated, I think they're called like air stones. And They just go in there, and they've been brewing that way. I don't know if I showed that earlier, but all that black stuff there, that's from the additive that I put in there. And you see that's all humic acid. So most of that, see, it just went to the surface. So I don't think I really needed to add that, but I did anyway. So at least it gave the microbes some food to eat, and or why it still seems to be active with all that foam and bubbles and stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and get this diluted. We're only gonna dilute it down to probably I think maybe like anywhere from about like quarter to like a fifth or so, or six. I'm gonna get it close to 1 in 10 ratio. So like maybe I'll put like a liter or two in there and then fill it up to a 4 gallon line, and that should be good enough. I'm not really worried about going on too hot because I think most of the nitrates probably were consumed in there and turned into amino acids and stuff. A little bit more safer. I don't think they're going to really burn anything. So I'm going to go ahead and get this diluted down. I'm just going to take a scoop of this and then mix it in with some water and then go over there and just do some soil drenches on my trees. So stay tuned. So you can see it's still looking really strong. Like, I mean, all that activity still foaming up really nicely, and still kind of keeping its color there. Kind of see. So even with the dilution ratio, it's probably still a little sharp, but I think it's going to be perfectly fine, especially because it's going to be more high fungal than anything. So we should be good right about there. Yeah, this is our pomegranate tree planted a couple years ago. I think it's on year 2 or 3. But I'm just going to pour some right around there, around the water spigot, just kind of in the area. It's kind of mulched there and stuff. So let's scoop. That should be good. All right, now this is a freshly planted mesquite tree. We just did put some mulch down and everything like that, got the irrigation set up, and we're just gonna go ahead and drizzle all around there so then the roots will be able to spread over and grab them. So just a little bit on that. This is like a acacia. Not sure if she's gonna live, but hopefully this will help her bounce up and live and stuff because she's not doing too well. And then we're just gonna get some more. Keep going down my windrow here and just plant or pour into the trees that we've planted. It's another acacia that's not looking too hot, but oh well. I'm gonna go all the way down and just finish up the. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it for this round of leachate. We're gonna go ahead and keep you guys posted on the next batch that we make. So go ahead and like and subscribe and follow us, so then you guys will be able to know when that's coming through. And then also leave a comment down below if you guys are gonna try making your own JS leachate composting system, and let me know how it goes and what your plans are for the year. Look forward to hearing from you soon, guys. Thanks for watching.